Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for another live stream from Xencelabs. This session we'll be hanging out with PJ Palijo. So toy design adventures, first presentation with Play the Experience. It's awesome. So Peter, thank you for joining us. PJ, corrections.
Yes,
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you
Nice.
doing,
I'm
Acosta?
doing awesome. This has been a great, super inspiring, and we did our little tech walkthrough, and I'm super stoked to get your slower version of this because I was completely geeking out on your stuff. So I have a lot of crossover. So please take it away, sir. It's all you.
Awesome. Thank you, DaCosta. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for actually the play experience, my play experience. My name is PJ Polio, and I'm the VP of Design for NBC Universal. I run the toy design division there. Before I start, I want to thank the team at Xencelabs for giving me this opportunity to participate in the Lightbox Expo, and DaCosta for being the moderator for this. It'll be great. Like he said, we're going to probably geek out this entire time, but bear with us. It's going to be fun. I'm really going to talk about kind of like toys that inspired me creatively, as well as toys that I actually developed and designed throughout my career. So usually I like to start with a quote, and this quote's by Plato. Life must be lived as play. I think it's interesting that Plato's name, the first part of his name, is play. So it's a great that this quote kind of was created by him. I've had almost probably 50, if you can believe it, 50 years of play experience. My toy design career started very early on. This is me when I was probably about 1.5 or 2. Some parents like or want their kids to grow up to be doctors, and dentists and everything. I think my parents, trained me early on to be a toy designer. So it's a great pick that my mom sent me probably a few years back, just to remind me that I was a spoiled kid with a lot of toys. But it was really fun to see that. So we'll start in this decade of the 70s, where I played with some of my most favorite toys. And you'll see that some of these toys will have an effect on me later throughout the years when I'm in the toy design industry. So the first one is, this one's called Shogun Warriors. And this was created by Mattel. Now these are giant robots, right? Giant robots, they're probably about 2 feet tall, and had fists that shot out like missiles,
Yes.
right? So you remember these, Costa, right?
We talked about I had the one in the background.
Yeah, from the Zynga Z. So, like playing with a toy this size, and it was like as tall as me back then. It was an amazing thing, right? You think about it, it's like, oh my God, it's a giant robot. Now, the funny thing is that I never owned one of these, but my best friend did, and I was there every day. And I think that's why he was my best friend, because he let me play with his Shogun Warriors. A fun fact, and this goes back to kind of like my career and kind of the toy industry. Large scale figures are super successful today in the Latin America market. And a lot of toy companies, try to create the largest toys for the lowest value, right? And these become kind of the big Christmas presents every year for kids in Mexico or in Latin America. Next one is, okay, I think everybody knows who this guy is. There was a sci-fi movie that came out called Star Wars, and Kenner revolutionized the toy industry. Now, Boba Fett was my favorite character in the Star Wars franchise, and he still is today. Only because he had like the coolest helmet, the coolest costume, and the best weapons, right? And he was a bad guy, but he was cool. So you'll see how kind of like that also inspired me and influenced me later in my career. But my favorite toy of all time growing up in the 70s was the $6 Million Man. Now, this was a TV, for those of you who don't know, this was a TV show about a man with bionic parts that gave him like super strength, right? So his arm was like, his arm had this clicking mechanism in the back where you press it and he can lift this giant engine and everything, right? It was cool because like if you kind of rolled up his shirt sleeve and you kind of looked at his arms, it was like this rubber skin on his arms, and you can actually peel it back and see kind of these kind of circuitry and chips and everything on his arm. So it was like, for a kid, that's like, oh my gosh, this human is a robot. It's like a cyborg. And like, if you look through the back of his head, there was like a little hole on his head, and you actually look through his eye because he had a bionic eye in the TV show. It was blurry, but it made you feel like, you were looking through, you had a bionic eye and you were looking through his bionic eye. So I think it was just like the coolest toy in terms of like, if I think about it now, it's like, it's a really innovative, toy back in the 70s and everything. And it really brought the character to life. And that was like something important that I took away from this toy was like, wow, this toy, these features actually bring characters to life, right, through toys. So that was the 70s. Now we're going to go into the 80s. All this kind of neon fluorescent time. I was turning into a teen, and I was kind of growing out of toys, but I didn't stop playing. So I'll take you through kind of like so I think Transformers was the last kind of action figure I started playing with. That's when my little brother started playing with toys. So I kind of lived vicariously through him when I was growing up as a teen. But I love the Transformers because it was like robots in disguise, right? And it was they were vehicles that actually transformed into robots. Unbelievable. And it's still kind of, such a huge brand today. And the just the feature of transformation is just amazing for toys. It always amazes kids, right? So as I kind of graduated from kind of physical toys, I went into kind of BMX riding and racing and everything. And this kind of is an image of a bike I used to have and everything. So I used to have this Mongoose. Mongoose was like this awesome kind of like BMX bike, and I admired all the BMX racers back then and everything. And then fast forward, many years later, you watch Stranger Things, and there's a Mongoose BMX bike in Stranger Things. So I had to get that bike. So even though these became like, different types of toys for me, as I was growing up. So this BMX bike was one of the toys I had. And then in the late 80s, like I got really into kind of street skating and skateboarding. Growing up in New York City, we didn't have ramps. So we're always kind of street skating and everything. So, you had to be kind of creative with obstacles. And, part of it was, you created your own obstacles, and skateboarding was a time for me where I can like go out, be free, do some crazy tricks and even be creative. I think it was great because I had an opportunity to work for a skate shop and do graphics for their skateboards. So, like skateboarding gave me that outlet of creativity as well and everything. And that was a toy for a number of years. And then I went into college in the 90s, and kind of my creativity shifted to like illustration, and specifically more so into fashion illustration. So I actually got a degree in fashion illustration and fashion design and everything. And I actually was doing a lot of freelance work after I got my degree. But like again, like a form of creativity and everything. But I met a friend. I mean, my friend who was actually in illustration. He didn't want to leave school, so he was just like, "Hey, PJ, there's this thing called a toy design program at FIT in New York and everything. I'm thinking about like continuing kind of like my education and everything, and joining this." I was like, "Hey, you know what? His name is Freddie Tudevin, and he was actually a presenter earlier on today, but." He was like, "Hey, come on, let's check it out." I was like, "I'm working, I'm doing my freelance thing. And then I get a call probably about a month later from the chairperson of toy design. And she's like, hey, yeah, thank you for your interest in toy design. We'd love to see your portfolio. Come on in. And we'd love to evaluate it. I was like, what's going on? I never signed up for it. So I went in, I showed my portfolio, and she really convinced me that, this might be, my future career. She said I had the opportunity to definitely kind of get into toy design and really show my skills and succeed in it. So it so happens that my friend Freddie, he actually signed me up without telling me. I think it was a blessing in disguise that he did that. So I thank Freddie for doing that. But you can see, my shift from fashion design to toy design, some of that kind of background helped me a lot, especially drawing dolls and everything. But I had a lot of fun, and I learned a whole new kind of expertise in drawing and in kind of three-dimensional designing and everything. So I think it was amazing to be part of that. And then during that time, 1995, there was this movie called Toy Story that came out, and I was watching it in the theaters, and I remember seeing this, and I was like blown away by the quality of animation. It's a new CG animation never seen before, and the fact that the story about these toys, kind of being left behind and kind of really brought back that nostalgia of when I used to play with toys back in the 70s. And that got me really inspired to kind of continue doing, this toy design thing. And I was like, this is it. One day I'm gonna design that Toy Story, that Toy Story action figure. Right. Sure enough, I had an opportunity to, after I graduated, had an opportunity to move out to LA and work for this toy company called Mattel. And as a entry-level designer there, I had the opportunity to work on dolls, which was kind of like also my forte with fashion illustration and everything. But a couple of years later, I was actually able to work on Toy Story 2 and was designing kind of all the Toy Story 2 action figures. So, something that I saw in a movie theater and that inspired me really kind of led me to kind of doing this actual design for this one of my favorite animations. So I had a lot of fun doing that and worked on a lot of Disney properties while at Mattel designing toys for them. And I also designed toys, and this is interesting if not a lot of people know this, but Mattel was actually one of the kind of key toy companies that started doing toys for Harry Potter. So I worked on some Harry Potter projects. The image below there that you see with the troll and Harry Potter and Hermione and Ron. So if you think about that, right, the level of detail, the level of, animation and action that's put into this sculpt, I had a great opportunity to work with these amazing sculptors, toy sculptors at the time. They were called the Four Horsemen. And we had contracted them to do some sculpts for us based off of kind of some of the properties Mattel was working on at the time. And Harry Potter happened to be one. So I had an amazing time working with these guys. They are so talented, and they used to do some of the best action figures in the market during that time. So an interesting thing was happening around kind of like the later part of the 90s, where this new form of toys was coming out. This is Michael Lau, who I consider, and I think DaCosta also considers, the godfather of vinyl figures. Right. And it was amazing to see something so different, so like dramatically different from everything that I was working on at Mattel. And the first time I saw this, one of the design managers who used to go to Hong Kong frequently would go over there and just buy random toys or pick up postcards. And he came back and said, "Hey, PJ," he's like, "I saw this postcard and I was like, I think you would appreciate this. It's so different and so out there that I think you'd appreciate this." And I saw it and I was like, "What is this? This thing is awesome." Like the art style was almost like art meets graffiti meets toys. So I was just like blown away by this. And, a number of kind of these toy designers were, these new breed of toy designers were kind of resonating in Asia. This is Michael Lau. This one's Eric So. And like the shapes and the stylization of how they were doing characters, it was just so new from the toy front and everything, and so kind of sophisticated. It was amazing to see. And then there was this like graffiti artist from New York City, probably one of the most famous vinyl artists and designers out there right now is Cause. Right, he started doing all these graffiti, graffiti interpretations of all these kind of Calvin Klein ads and putting it on bus stops and everything. But then he kind of started doing vinyl figures, and then started doing collaborations with different artists as well. So you can see that this new trend, and I wouldn't say trend, but it's here to stay. It's amazing to see how a whole new toy category just resonated from a new kind of style. And this new breed of toy designers, including DaCosta himself, who's a vinyl figure artist as well, like they started just, very getting really popular in the scene of toys and everything, and then created a whole new collector. So it's amazing to see that stuff as I kind of like throughout my career. It's amazing to see these transitions and these new things that get me excited and inspired creatively. Sorry. So after Mattel, I actually found myself, because I worked on a lot of products for Disney, I found myself working for Disney. And I went from the manufacturing side of toys to the licensing side of toys. And what that is, on the licensing side, obviously the studio owns all the properties. And then we would work with different toy companies to create the toy for that property. So that's the big difference. Now when I started Disney in 2001, the president at the time of consumer products really wanted to get experts in the industry of consumer products. So for the toy division at Disney, he really picked out a lot of different, toy veterans and toy designers, actual toy designers, instead of like character artists and all that stuff. But it was amazing to bring those people in and to work with kind of filmmakers to see how that kind of transformed the licensing industry. So, a big part of what we tried to do was innovate. We also tried to deliver the best quality and obviously deliver the best fun for toys and our properties. I found myself working on Toy Story again. So Toy Story was a big portion of when I started at Disney and everything. And, it was great to work with the Pixar folks on all the characters and everything. And then also I found myself transitioning into a different role for a few years. I oversaw the girls division within Disney toys and everything, and had the opportunity to bring this fairies brand to life, and worked on all the princess dolls and everything. So, I think it was a great experience for me to kind of diverse my skill sets and not just do kind of boys toys, but girls toys, and had the opportunity to actually do a lot of different other categories within the toy field, right? I also worked on Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney. Huge hit, huge live action film for Disney and everything. And, it's amazing to work with really good partners. In this case, like Hot Toys was one of our partners for Pirates, and they deliver some of the best sculpts in the industry. This looks like a picture of Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, but this is actually a toy. And it's great to kind of like, see the reaction of these actors when they see these toys. Part of the job in the licensing field is you actually have to work with the toy company, get in front of the talent, and get these things approved, because they want to see, like that you're delivering what they actually look like. And it was great to work with that team over there. But you can see the quality and the the accuracy that we try to deliver in all toys. And then I worked again with the team at Pixar. The guys at Pixar really looked at this Cars brand, or this Cars property, as a property that they wanted to develop tons and tons of die-cast vehicles. That's why they created so many different characters for that franchise and everything. And obviously McQueen being the most popular for kids of all ages. But this was a great brand to work on and toy to work on. A lot of different innovation. You had to reinvent every year because this was such a great selling product. You always want to come up with something new every year for kids, something they haven't seen before. So, very challenging, but, a lot of fun to do. And then, another live action film I had the opportunity to work on was Tron. And the reason why I'm showing this product here, because I thought this was one of the most innovative toys we developed. What you see there is a kind of lifelike face of Sam Flynn, the character in Tron. And the way this is done on a 12-inch toy is that it is a disc full of tiny little film images of the actor. And it's on kind of like the base of his neck, of the neck of the action figure. And when the light turns on, it actually projects the face onto the helmet. So it looks like it's the actor, and you press the button, it'll say a phrase, and then it'll kind of project his face. This is called impulse projection technology. And a lot of, kind of these innovations come from toy inventors. So this one was from a toy inventor that we were excited that we had the opportunity to work with on this one with Spin Master. So lots of great things happened at Disney. I also go back again, talk about, remember this guy Cause that we talked about? I always want to kind of try to collaborate with him somehow. I didn't necessarily work with him, but the Japan team of Disney actually worked with him and created this Pinocchio Cause. So I think that was a great collaboration with Metacom Toys and everything in Japan. And they continue to kind of work with Cause. They continue to work with, myself at Universal as well. But it was great to see kind of two kind of iconic characters like, Pinocchio and kind of Cause come together and see something great like this. And at the same time, I was always trying to figure out what's next for, vinyl figures, what's next, and how can Disney really tap into kind of vinyl figures and everything. So I worked with a company that created this figure, Manny Pacquiao. So Manny Pacquiao is a Filipino boxer that was, up and coming at the time, and he was getting very, very, very popular. And I was like, I really want to do something with this guy somehow. So the company that I worked with at the time was named MindStyle, and they were going to do an exclusive in the Philippines. And I said, hey, what if we kind of look at, doing a, collaboration between Manny Pacquiao and Disney with Mickey and everything, kind of two greatest icons of the world, and do something really special for the Filipino market, right? So when I thought about this toy, I was like, I really want this toy to be designed by Filipinos, right? So one of the designers on my team, he was Filipino, his name is Ray Leoncio. He actually drew up this design you see here as a vinyl figure. And then I said, I want, a sculptor to actually sculpt this as well, Filipino sculptor to sculpt this as well. So, they actually hired my wife, who is a toy sculptor. And she was freelancing at the time and, had the opportunity to kind of do this. So it was really great to kind of see this come to fruition and and kind of see it come to life. It was like a passion project for me, and it was one of my dreams to come out with kind of a vinyl figure, and this was it. I can probably see up there somewhere back there. And then we go back in terms of vinyl figures. I talked about the godfather of vinyl figures, Michael Lau. I really wanted to work with him, and then I guess an opportunity came up, and I had a chance to kind of collaborate with him to develop this Mad Hatter project. One of his favorite characters, of Disney was the Mad Hatter. So he really wanted to do this character, and it was great to kind of collaborate with him, sit down in the studio in Hong Kong and look at all this stuff and just get inspired by all the things he was doing and everything. And so that happened. So lots of things happened during my Disney days and everything. I met a lot of amazing designers internally, externally, all worked with tons of different toy companies. But at like around 2013, I was like itching to go back to designing toys. So I wanted to kind of go back to manufacturing. And there so happened to be an opening here in LA in Burbank, that Hasbro was actually going to open up an LA office. So I applied for it, and I was able to head up the division, the boys division there, for a couple of years. And that was kind of like also a dream come true. If you remember back in the 70s when the Star Wars movie came out, I was playing with this kind of Boba Fett figure, right? So I was like, is this my opportunity to work on Star Wars? And sure enough, I had the opportunity to work on Star Wars. These vehicles here are the die-cast vehicles that came out in 2014, 2015, around that time. But they were all die-cast and everything, and just like the amount of detail that goes into a tiny 2.5, 3-inch vehicle and everything was unbelievable. The designers that worked on this, we had to go up to Lucasfilm, to get these approved, and I think there's so much respect for again licensing, like licensors, like studios that really want to pay attention to the detail and deliver the best quality for their fans and their collectors and everything. So it was a great learning experience to kind of like really sit down and wow, the amount of detail put into this was amazing. And then I also had the opportunity to design these kind of die-cast helmets for the Titanium series. And these are in scale, and the way we were thinking about this was, what if we designed it in scale to 12-inch figures? So if you had bought these helmets, these kind of different helmets, and you had your 12-inch action figure, you could actually pull off the head of your action figure and put these metal, helmets on your action figure. So that was the plan. I don't think you can actually put these on your 12-inch action figures, but the plan was to kind of like, possibly kind of like if you bought these, you can actually put them on your 12-inch action figures. And I got to work on Boba Fett. So very exciting for me. And then the other big property I worked on was this property called Jurassic World. And it was amazing to see the history of Hasbro and kind of working on, like the Jurassic Park franchise and everything for so many years, and to be part of that at Hasbro and to develop the action figures, was unbelievable. So, and to relaunch with Jurassic World in 2015, it was a great experience to work on this brand. And sure enough, I found myself going to Universal to get these things approved, right? And then an opportunity came to me where, I was offered a position to work at Universal and work on brands like Jurassic World, but also brands like Minions from Illumination and Trolls and Dragons from DreamWorks, Voltron. And if you think about all the really great properties that Universal have in their portfolio and their vault, Back to the Future, Jaws, E.T., and guess what? You go back to the 70s, my favorite toy of all time, $6 Million Man. Universal actually has the rights of the TV show of $6 Million Man. So maybe in the future, you'll see a $6 million man action figure. But, again, these properties are amazing to work with. Not when I joined Universal, I not only oversaw the toys, but I had to oversee some of the live events that were happening. And these dinosaurs weren't 12 inches. These dinosaurs were life size, that I had to go and make sure the accuracy was there and the quality and everything, make sure it looked like a dinosaur and looked like our dinosaur from Jurassic World, right? So we also did a big shift in kind of products when we gave Mattel the license for Jurassic. And wow, I mean, this was an amazing transition. This group of Mattel designers are by far some of the best designers I've worked on, especially for this brand. The way they think about producing the line, the different innovation they put into the line, amazing way that they think, amazing thought process behind the design of this. And if you look at this particular picture, the way they looked at it was like, we're going to design a line that's kind of like true to scale, or actually kind of, relative to scale and everything. So, these dinosaurs, if you were to put them one-to-one in real life, they're actually this scale. So it was amazing to see that. And they continue to grow this brand for us, and they continue to deliver some of the best products. So I'm excited to work with Mattel and excited to work on this brand. The other brand I enjoy working on, and this took up a lot of my time in the past couple of years, was this brand called Minions. A new movie's coming out in 2022, so go see it. But this was a collaboration. If you're familiar with the card game Exploding Kittens, when I played with that card game for the first time, my son and I were just like dying and laughing, and this was the most hilarious game. And we said, Minions as a brand makes sense to collaborate with Exploding Minions. So we had that opportunity, and the team that I worked with, at Universal, they kind of like, and Illumination as well, they worked together to come up with such a great game for Minions and Exploding Kittens. I show this GIF because you can see that there's a kind of a transition. What they had done is they innovated against packaging here. It's a lenticular lens. So if you buy it, you will see that, you shift the box and you'll see it kind of go from normal to exploded. So great innovation there from the packaging standpoint. Great company too as well. Other great products that are not traditional toys, but we worked on was with Insta360, which is an action camera. And this particular camera is probably the smallest action cam in the market. It's probably about a good maybe 2.5 inches, 3 inches tall. But it's amazing how the form factor actually worked with the Minions. And then, even all the way up to kind of professional motorcycle helmets. I think it's great. We worked with this company called HJC, and they deliver some of the best kind of character helmets and everything. And working with those guys, it's great to see this come to life as well during the kind of process and everything. And then, I'm always going to talk about vinyl figures and, that scene and everything. So we were able to do that with Minions as well. Worked with Metacom on the Bear Bricks, and they're such a great company to work with. I saw this video from Pharrell called Yellow Light, and I was like, guys, can we actually, do a product based off of that video? So the guys at Metacom were like, yeah, that's really cool. Let's do it. So they actually came out with this figure. And then if you look at the Minions in the video, they're kind of like 8-bit. So this is the first time we're seeing kind of like 8-bit Minions. Pharrell, he actually has like the Supreme cap on. So great collaboration on that. But by far, my favorite Minions toy is the fart gun. Now I have to say this is probably the #1 selling Minions toy ever since the launch of Despicable Me. So this continues to be a huge seller for us and everything. And with that, I will leave you with my favorite toy and its feature. So Mattel actually created this toy, and it has actually almost like a trombone feature. So it has different sound effect, fart sound effects, and everything. It's great when you can say, "Yeah, I designed fart guns." That's the best part of kind of my job. But with that, I will leave you today with that quote from Plato: "Life must be lived as play." And I can say that these guys continue to make my play experience the best experience of my life. So thank you very much. Thank you, DaCosta. Thank you, everybody that attended. Thank you, Xencelabs, and thank you, Lightbox, for joining me today.
PJ, that was amazing. I mean, really inspirational. We've got a couple of questions for you from the group. Probably it depends on, we have a little time left, so we can go through these a little bit. Can we talk about some? Who was asking about a little bit about your work, your process?
Okay.
What is that? Yeah, Tom was asking, can you share a little bit about your work process? How do you kind of get the project in, and how do you work it?
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting is I was telling DaCosta that my original presentation was about the process and everything, but I will tell you exactly what the process is, and it's really, again, it's a simple form of a process, but it's great because it's very creative. So when you work with a film property and everything, you work with the toy company. So in my world, Universal, I work with a toy company, work with the studio, understand what the film's about, the story's about, who the characters are in the film. And then we take that information and collectively we sit down and we actually have a creative brainstorm. So we brainstorm about like, what cool features can this character have? What cool features can this vehicle have? All these different ideas. We have tons of different designers and creatives within that meeting. So you can imagine if you're in a room and there are these kind of giant kind of either whiteboards or big paper pads, everybody's kind of drawing, writing down their ideas and everything. And then you kind of go back and you sift through them, and then you kind of work together with the toy company and the studio company to identify what that product line may look like, right? So you start kind of like figuring out, okay, we need kind of like this size action figure here and this size action figure here, and the price point here, price point there. This is the features. So as you start kind of developing that product line, then you go into drawing out what this concept looks like, what it's going to look like at the end, right? So you draw these concepts, you have an idea, then you go into sculpting. I talked a little bit about sculpting and everything, and then you kind of sculpt this in three-dimensional form, the characters and everything. And then within that process, if you have features built into it, you have to really think about how that's engineered. So the engineering team really gets involved, and they kind of produce all these great features for that toy, and then after that it gets painted. So there's called the deco phase, the paint master phase, where the toy company will submit what it looks like, and then we'll help kind of identify the right colors and everything for them. And then it goes into what they call tooling. It goes into getting molded and then tooled up, and then being produced, mass produced as a product, put into packaging, gets shipped from the factory to the retail, and then onto shelf. And that is, in a nutshell, how it's produced.
Nice. So the question is, is there a toy that you're kind of really wanting to do? Chelsea was asking if your personal stuff that you want to work on. It's not a toy currently. How do you?
Yeah, I think,
that you could talk about?
yeah, I've that I can talk about. No, I've always, like, I think the good and the bad of working for, big toy companies and studios and everything, you actually can't work on anything personal that relates to what you're actually working on at work. But I do have tons of ideas. I kind of like do a lot of just art on the side for myself and everything. But I can't produce any toys. But one day I will. I have tons of ideas and everything, and hopefully I can sit down with DaCosta and do some signings and everything, my products and all that stuff at Designer Con or something like that.
Yes, please. That'll
But
be
I do
fun.
have a lot of ideas. There are tons of ideas. One of the things I can think about is, I had produced this, I had created this kind of children's book, and it was a children's book that I used, and it was about my wife and I, and it was used. I used it as my proposal to my wife. So she read the children's book. At the end of the children's book, I proposed, and the two characters in there is something I'd love to kind of see come to into a 3D form. So maybe that will happen one day. Maybe for our when is it, 25th anniversary, honey? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it's it, right?
Now, you
But
better not get that number wrong.
right. But yeah, no, I have tons of ideas and everything, and I just work on it on my own, and all that stuff.
Nice. Okay, we've got another question from Ezekiel, and he's curious about working on kind of the difference between working on boys and girls lines, and then is it more like do more women work on girls lines? How does that? What's the split you feel like you've experienced?
I think the split has shifted dramatically from when I started to how it is today. I actually started in girls toy design when I first joined Mattel back in 1996 and everything. And there were probably as equal. I think more girls definitely designing for girls toys and everything, but you can see kind of the shift throughout the years and everything, and like some of the best boy action figure designers come from kind of girl design and everything, girls toys design. But yeah, it's amazing to see, and it's really about the big difference is play pattern, right? If you think about how boys play and how girls play, there's different ways boys play and different ways girls play and everything. But I think the world shifts and people change, and I think there's a lot of ways kids are kind of playing as almost as one today. My kids play, like my kids play together all the time. I have a boy and a girl, and they play with the same things. So it's amazing to see that and everything. So you kind of like have to adapt to that as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. When Lego went through that phase, I love that they brought back the
Yeah.
city line. That was because I loved the city line back in the day. But when they kind of made a switch to like this whole idea of, girls being engineers or action heroes, I think it was, I don't know if it was Marvel that went through a weird thing. They did a couple of commercials that were a little interesting in how they chose to talk about, the heroes in my world or something. That was a weird little transition, but that it's interesting to see, what are the things that you've seen in terms of how the industry wants to address kind of the breaking out of the stereotypical roles of the
Yeah.
toys.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think we're a diverse world right now and a diverse kind of industry, and you have to really consider new ways of thinking and new ways of playing, right? And that's what we try to do as toy designers and everything, is really adapt to um, uh, the new generation, and really finding new ways to play.
Yeah.
Have
Can we break away from the pink aisle and the blue aisle?
Exactly, right? You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. And I think that the new generation of toy designers will really, evolve what that's going to look like.
Nice. Well, I am for sure looking forward to the $6 million, or as you said before, maybe the $6 billion man, because that's going to be
Well,
amazing. I'd like to see
do
that.
you see that? Do you see it there? DaCosta, there it is. That my
Oh, in the
mint.
box. Oh, nice. Yeah, we'll have to have a conversation about what that actually cost you, because that's that must be a pretty penny. Like I said, I'm looking for the big medical bay.
Yeah, that was a great toy. That was a really great toy.
Nice. Well, let me thank you for the group and everyone that showed up to hang out and talk toys. A lot of friends I know are super nerdy like I am about this whole thing, and vinyl toys was a fantastic adventure for me. That I caught it at the end of the goodness, but I've met a lot of people and learned a lot of things. So thank you for sharing your journey.
Oh, thank you.
So everyone, thanks very much. Check the notes in the chat so you get a little 10% discount off of the Xencelabs product. And check out, there's still more to come. So thank you, PJ.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, DaCosta. Thank you, Xencelabs.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
soon.
Bye.